Yo, what's good, Dub Nation? Sit down, right now, drop everything, because what Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, the four-time NBA champion, the eternal face of the Golden State Warriors, just did on the Pat McAfee show is going to be the biggest story in the entire NBA over the next 72 hours. And I mean it. Steph Curry, at 38 years old, sat down with Pat this morning in Indianapolis, wearing his Warriors polo, looked directly into the camera, and dropped the hammer on Draymond Green. Publicly, on live television. He didn't shout. He didn't get emotional. He spoke with the calm, measured, surgical precision of a man who has been holding this in for 3 years. And in one 30-minute interview, he demanded the Warriors move on from Draymond Green. He revealed private conversations. He named specific incidents, he named the front office, he addressed the fan base directly, and he changed the entire course of the Warriors franchise. Let me walk you through every single word, because if you're a Dub Nation fan, this is the moment. This is what has been coming for years, and now it's here. Real quick, that like button pushes this to every Warriors fan across America. 1 second, massive impact, smash it right now. Context. Draymond Green just wrapped up another controversial offseason. He got suspended by the NBA for 5 games last season for the Rudy Gobert incident in the Wolves series. He got fined multiple times for public criticism of NBA officials. He publicly feuded with LeBron James on his podcast for the 3rd summer in a row. And most recently, this is important, he got into an argument with Steve Kerr during a summer basketball scrimmage that reportedly turned physical. That story broke on Mark Stein's Substack last week. Kerr and Draymond had to be pulled apart by other players. And Kerr, according to the reporting, told management that Draymond needs to be figured out for the season to work. Meanwhile, Draymond's contract runs through 2027-28 at over $25 million per year. He's not going anywhere on his own, so the pressure has been building on Warriors leadership, Mike Dunleavy, Joe Lacob, and yes, Steph Curry himself, to make a decision. And this morning on the Pat McAfee show, Steph made his position crystal clear. Pat McAfee opened the segment with big energy. Stephen Curry, everybody. And Steph, with that cool, quiet smile, leaned into the microphone and said, "Pat, before we get into anything about the Warriors season, I need to say something publicly, something I have been holding in for a long time, something Dub Nation deserves to hear directly from me, not from a leak, not from a Woj tweet, from me. On the record, B.O." Pat's face just lit up. Because when Steph Curry says, "something I've been holding in for a long time," the whole basketball world knows this is going to be big. And AJ Hawk leaned forward, Ty Schmidt leaned forward, and Curry, with the quiet lethality of a man who has already made his decision, dropped the sentence that shook the NBA. "I have communicated to Mike Dunleavy and to Joe Lacob that I am no longer able to play alongside Draymond Green. And I am asking the organization to trade him before the start of the regular season. This is not a threat. This is not a leverage play. This is my honest professional recommendation to my franchise, delivered publicly today so that the media coverage cannot distort my position. My relationship with Draymond as a friend and brother will always be there. My relationship with Draymond as a basketball teammate is over." Man, my jaw dropped. Because that is the single most explosive public statement Steph Curry has ever made in his 17-year career. Steph has been Draymond's biggest defender for over a decade. Every time Draymond got in trouble, the Jordan Poole incident, the Rudy Gobert incident, the LeBron feuds, the Kerr scrimmage fight, Steph publicly defended him. And now, in one interview, he just publicly rejected him. Every basketball reporter in America just simultaneously grabbed their phones. This is going to be the top story on espn.com in 30 minutes. Pat pushed. He said, "Steph, this is really unlike you. What changed?" And Steph took a long breath. This was the confession moment. This was the sit you down and tell you everything moment. "Pat, what changed is that I finally accepted a truth I have been avoiding for 3 years. And that truth is that Draymond Green, like as a basketball player, as a locker room presence, as a public figure, has become more detrimental to this team's success than helpful. And I love him as a brother. I want to be clear about that separation. Draymond is family to me. Draymond will be at my kids' weddings. Draymond will be at my Hall of Fame speech. But that love does not change the professional reality. Every single time Draymond has an outburst on the court, we lose a player for a suspension. Every single time he does something on his podcast, we spend a week answering questions about it. Every single time he gets in an altercation at practice, like what happened with Steve Kerr 2 weeks ago that Mark Stein reported on, the entire team dynamic gets destabilized. And I am 38 years old. I have maybe 2 elite years left in this body. 2 years, Pat. And I refuse to spend those 2 years on locker room damage control instead of championship pursuit. So I made the call to the front office, and I told them what I'm telling you today. Whoa, he just confirmed the Steve Kerr scrimmage fight publicly. Which means it's not just Mark Stein reporting anymore. It's Curry himself validating the story on national TV. That is devastating for Draymond's public reputation, because now every fan knows this is real. Draymond fought with the head coach. Steve Kerr, the Hall of Fame coach, the guy who has protected Draymond for a decade, apparently reached his breaking point too. And Curry just confirmed the whole thing on Pat McAfee. Pat asked the perfect follow-up. He said, "Steph, walk us through the Steve Kerr incident. What actually happened?" And Curry's answer here was the shocking detail moment. Pat, I don't want to go too deep on the specifics because it's still an internal matter, but I'll confirm the broad outlines. 2 weeks ago, we had a summer scrimmage at Chase Center. Nothing formal, just some of the guys getting shots up and running 5-on-5 for conditioning. Steve was coaching, running drills, watching. Draymond took issue with a play call. Words were exchanged. It escalated. And I mean, it escalated to a level I have never seen in 13 years playing with Steve Kerr. There was contact, there was physical restraint. Buddy Hield and Andrew Wiggins had to physically separate them. Steve was visibly devastated, and Draymond was visibly unable to control his emotions in that moment. And when I saw that scene, Pat, my coach and my teammate needing to be physically separated in an open scrimmage, I knew right then that we had reached a point of no return. So I called Mike Dunleavy the next morning, and I said, "Mike, we have to move on from Draymond. That was 2 weeks ago. That was the call, and nothing has changed since." Y'all. He just described a physical altercation between his own head coach and his own teammate in detail on live television, naming other players who had to break it up. That is the kind of detail that will end professional relationships forever. Steve Kerr is going to have to address this in his own press conference within 24 hours. Draymond is going to have to address it. Buddy Hield and Andrew Wiggins are going to have to address it. This story is everywhere by 6 p.m. Then Curry addressed Dub Nation directly, and this was the beautiful, vulnerable moment of the interview. Dub Nation, I want to speak directly to you because I know this is hard to hear. Draymond Green, alongside me and Klay Thompson, is the reason our dynasty exists. 4 championships. Every single one had Draymond's DNA on it. His screen setting for me, his defensive versatility, his playmaking, his leadership. I would not have 4 rings without Draymond Green. Full stop. And that legacy is forever. Nothing that happens in the trade market this month can change what we built together. But there comes a moment in every dynasty, every empire in sports history, where the pieces that built you become the pieces that are holding you back. The Bulls had to move on from Scottie Pippen eventually. The Lakers had to move on from Shaq. The Spurs had to move on from Manu. It's the sad truth of championship windows. And Dub Nation, we have reached that moment with Draymond. It hurts to say it out loud. It hurts to know that Draymond may see this interview and be devastated, but I owe you the truth. And the truth is that if we don't move on from Draymond, this window closes without another ring. Man, that was beautiful and devastating because Curry just contextualized the trade demand with dynastic history. Bulls Pippen, Lakers Shaq, Spurs Manu, while also honoring Draymond's legacy. That is the perfect balance. And every Warriors fan is going to feel this in their gut. Because it's true, every dynasty ends this way, and Curry is just being honest about where they are. But then Pat asked the question everybody was thinking. He said, "Steph, how has Draymond responded to this? Have you talked to him personally?" And Curry's answer here was heartbreaking. "Pat, Draymond has not returned my calls in 10 days. That's the honest answer." Last time we spoke was the day after the Kerr incident. I told him privately what I was going to tell Mike. I told him he deserved to hear it from me first. He was quiet on the phone. He said he understood, and he said, give me a couple days to process. It's been 10 days. He has not called back. He has not texted back. His silence is the loudest statement he could make. I respect it. I understand it. He is grieving the end of what we built together. That grief is real. And I don't want to pressure him to reach out before he's ready, but I want him to know, publicly right now, Draymond, I love you. I will love you for the rest of my life. If we never speak again after this, I still love you. And I hope one day, when the pain fades, we can be brothers again on the other side of this decision. Because our brotherhood was never about basketball. It was always about the people we became together in this journey. And that peoplehood is forever. I got chills. Because that was Steph publicly professing his love for Draymond while cutting him from the team professionally. That is the hardest thing a person can do in professional sports. Loving someone and choosing to end the professional relationship anyway. And every viewer just felt the weight of that decision. This is not petty. This is not mean. This is genuinely painful, and Steph took no joy in delivering it. The final moment came at the end. Pat asked, Steph, what's your message to the Warriors organization? And Steph closed with the clearest possible statement. My message to Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob is very clear. Trade Draymond by October 15th. If you cannot find an acceptable trade partner, waive him. Yes, Joe, I know it costs $100 million. I know it, but I am asking you as your franchise player in my final championship window to do this for the future of this team. Because if Draymond is on our roster on opening night, and this whole season will be a distraction. If Draymond is gone by opening night, we can move forward as a team. I have made my choice. I trust you to make yours. And Dub Nation, thank you for supporting me for 17 years. Whatever this front office decides, I will play my heart out this season, but I hope they make the right call. Then Curry stood up, hugged Pat, walked off, and Pat sat there in stunned silence for 12 seconds before saying, that was Stephen Curry. That was history. Let me give you my analysis, Dub Nation. Because this was massive, Steph just did 5 things in one 30-minute interview. Number 1, he publicly demanded Draymond's trade by a specific date. Number 2, he publicly confirmed the Steve Kerr scrimmage altercation and named witnesses. Number 3, he publicly honored Draymond's dynastic legacy while ending the partnership. Number 4, he publicly acknowledged Draymond's silence and grief. Number 5, he issued a specific ultimatum to Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob with a 15-day deadline. That is a masterclass in public professional accountability. Here's what I think is coming. Mike Dunleavy is going to work the phones for 72 hours straight. Every team with cap space or expiring contracts is going to get a call. Detroit, Utah, Charlotte, Washington, the young rebuilding teams. Miami if they want another vet. Milwaukee, if they can find money, every option gets explored. If a trade can happen, Draymond is gone by October 15th. If not, the Warriors will make the impossible choice about waiving him or keeping him against Curry's wishes. And that choice will define the next 5 years of the franchise.